Hello and welcome to this week's podcast, the Denver Homes Market Report. This is Ricky.schoonover of Mode Real Estate. I want to thank you for taking the time to tune in today. We are in our first season, and now this marks our 13th episode. I'm super excited to be here with you today. The real estate market has seen its fair share of changes as we have fought this COVID-19 virus. We are slowly getting back on track. However, we are watching the news surrounding this issue very carefully, and we are making sure all parties involved are taking all necessary precautions. I figured this week we'll cover two main topics. My first idea is to give a quick update on where the real estate industry is when it comes to pricing strategies of your home when coming to market. Then, since we focused on Highlands last week, and primarily West Highlands, I wanted to also break down Highlands just a bit and hit up each of the neighborhoods. We have already talked about Sloan's Lake and Jefferson Park in previous episodes. This week, let's focus on another neighborhood which has seen dramatic changes, and that area is known as Sunnyside. Sunnyside was a bit slower on the redevelopment of Highlands. The sweeping changes really started in Berkeley, as Tennyson and the entire area from West 38th and north, really almost right up to Berkeley Lake Park and Rocky Mountain Lake Park. Tennyson is unrecognizable, even from just a few years back. So why was Berkeley the neighborhood, which, by all accounts, is further away from downtown than Sunnyside? However, the void was left really when Leach's Garden was moved from Berkeley location to downtown near Aurora campus. This started taking place in 1994. And once the theme park was relocated, there was a huge push by the city to do something with that vacated land. So we clearly have more to talk about when it comes to Berkeley, which we'll do that at a later date. Today, I really want to take note of Sunnyside and where the market is today in this great community. So first, where the heck is Sunnyside? If you have not visited Sunnyside lately, you're in for a shock. This area has really made many changes. Some people may see these changes as progress and as something great. However, as anyone knows who listens to me and my podcast, know that development and redevelopment has its impacts, which vary greatly depending on if you own the property being sold or if you are renting the property. Landowners are finding themselves with a substantial amount of equity, giving them economic freedoms they have never seen before. However, if you are simply renting and that home gets sold, often as soon as your lease terms are expired, there are also plans to redevelop that land. The renters are not in the same situation as those who either bought or sold the property. The story of Sunnyside really starts at the turn of the century, when there were a large influx of Italian immigrants who moved into Sunnyside. Many were expert bricklayers and worked in the construction of many of those bungalows which are still standing proud 100 years later today. And then they were also working on the nearby railroads and the smelting company. The smelting company suffered a massive fire back in 1919 and never really returned to its prior glory. Then in the 1950s, cars started making mass transit and streetcars a thing of the past. And we had more Latino immigrants starting to move in primarily in the 60s and 70s. And this culture is still prevalent today. But there is a definite shift in demographics, which, as stated earlier, really started in Berkeley and has made its way east as the redevelopment continues to move closer into downtown Denver. Now, there is a light rail stop right there at West 41st Street and Fox Street. There's also a large walking bridge to get you past the railroad tracks and down into the light rail station. Once you're there, it's just one stop into downtown Denver, and you can also take the light rail west out towards Arvada, and there's more expansion planned to go north. Sunnyside is a great neighborhood. The area took quite a hit back in the 1960s when I-70 was built through the north side of Denver, and it split Sunnyside from Chaffee Park neighborhood, which is just north of I-70. In fact, the actual park named Chaffee Park is located south of I-70 down in Sunnyside. I met with my dear friend Jaxanne Riggs of the Mortgage Network. We had some coffee over there at that amazing Bacon Social House. We talked about all the changes in the area, and she also assured me that interest rates and mortgages have been fairly steady. I'll tell you, the idea that mortgage rates and the level in which lenders remain committed to making good, well thought out loans are helping keep real estate moving. Many of you may remember 2010 and the housing crisis. That financial breakdown, and really the cause of the crash, was a perfect financial storm exacerbated by bad loans. Banks this time around have been more cautious, and the financial downturn of the recent months was not caused by the housing or the mortgage loan industry. In fact, we have enjoyed a nationwide upward trend of the economy and real estate overall over the past 10 years, really since 2010. There are homeowners, particularly if they bought more than a few years back, who now have a substantial amount of equity tied up in their homes. This equity so far is proving a barrier to some of the otherwise dismal financial news as of late. Housing prices so far are holding up fairly well. The inventory is low, and the pent-up demand by many buyers are holding the line on two key metrics, one being days on market, which is the average number of days a listed home as active in the market seeking out a buyer. Then the second metric I'm keeping a close eye on is the percentage of the list price as it relates to the eventual sales price, which is also holding up pretty well. Actually, the closing price versus the listing price is in the high 90% range. However, the longer this goes on, the more pressure which mounts against these key metrics. Let's all hope for at least one of these several vaccines, which are marching towards approval. Let's hope one is discovered to be readily available and effective. In the meantime, it looks like social distancing and face coverings are the key. We can go out to restaurants, we can get our hair cut, and yes, we can buy and sell our homes. All these things are possible with a simple face covering and doing our best to keep 6 feet apart when practical. Now, I, for one, have been pretty selective on where I've been willing to go out. I have sat inside one restaurant, but the front door was open and the back door was open, and I was more than 6 feet away from the table next to me. Most of my dining experiences as of late have been on an outside patio where I feel fairly safe being outside and keeping my distance. In fact, every single weekend this year, I have taken my 2 dogs out to Cherry Creek State Park. They love getting out to play in that off-leash area. We typically walk the entire perimeter at least once a week. Of course, we wear our masks when we're close to anyone, and we really do our best to keep our distance. All right, let's take a look at the current real estate market right here in Sunnyside. I see we have 39 homes currently listed for sale, with 19 of those being single-family homes or houses, and the other 20 are all attached homes or condos, townhouses, duplexes. The prices range from $1,195,000. That is for the most expensive home. It's presented by MB Bancroft Pro, located at 4058 Bryant Street. This home has 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. It's a half duplex with 3,332 square feet of living space and a 2-car garage. Then on the other side of the spectrum, We have this home located at 990 West 41st Avenue. This is in that new development known as Zion. This is the most affordable home in Sunnyside. This one is presented by Clear Creek Real Estate. It is a 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo, 590 square feet of living space. It's listed at $187,553. These are located right near that pedestrian bridge I was talking about earlier. That one that takes you right into the light rail station. They're at 41st and Fox. There's one other listing which is made up in the multiple listing service here. But this one is a multiple lot situation. They're being bundled together and marketed. This is really more for a developer looking to build out these lots into a larger overall development. We'll skip over these listings. As a multi-lot investment, it's not really the right fit for most buyers. If you're out there listening and you're a builder or a developer and you want to know more about this opportunity here in Sunnyside, give me a call. I have done some work for investors in Sunnyside and would love to help you on this project if it's something you're interested in. We are indeed listing homes for sale. Buyers are buying homes at nearly 100% of the asking price, and the days on market, although a little bit longer than pre-COVID homes, still selling at a pretty brisk rate. Especially that middle market, the homes in that sweet spot of $400,000 to $600,000, at least for houses, and then $300,000 to $500,000 for your attached homes. The higher priced homes around $1 million and higher, those have felt more pressure. If you own a home in the higher price ranges, it's more important than ever to really cue into the market and make darn sure you are coming to market properly right out of the gate. You'll need a multifaceted and well-orchestrated marketing approach. Gone are the days of pricing your home on the high side and waiting for the market to catch up with your valuations. That tactic has always been risky. Not to say that it has never worked out. When I meet with a seller and we get to the discussion of pricing, I come prepared. My listing appointments are always a 2-part meeting. The first in-person meeting is simply for me to get a quick walkthrough and listen to my potential seller. Let them tell me what they love about their home. And while I'm listening, I'm also taking pictures and notes on what I think are going to help the home's value. This may be simple things like a fresh coat of paint or adding some rugs, or perhaps moving some furniture around and removing some pieces altogether, kind of making the home feel more open and more fresh. I then take all of this information back to my office where I conduct research on all the other sales in the area. I try to find the best comps. I mark why they are comps or why they are not comps. I then return to my potential seller with all my market data, and I let them know upfront there are 3 basic pricing strategies, and I have seen all 3 of them work. Sometimes my clients are shocked when I say to them, I do not set the pricing for your home. You do. What I do is a little bit different. My sellers are in complete control. I provide you the data on where your home will likely sell based on the comps. I first start with an as-is pricing, with no or little bit of updating. At a minimum, most homes will benefit from at least a fresh coat of paint. Even if you don't paint the entire exterior, there's almost always an advantage to painting the trim. This is where that initial walkthrough comes in really handy. On my second visit, I'm able to show my research and the effects of the recent activity around their home. Then, after I've shown all my evidence, I give 3 recommendations. First is the slightly higher price. The second is the middle pricing, where I feel the home should be priced and should sell in the next, or at least get an offer in the next 4 to 6 weeks. I then offer a lower price, and at that price point, the home may see multiple buyers interested, and perhaps that enthusiasm and that whole FOMO or fear of missing out, where your home is the one for multiple buyers, and that lower than expected price then gets driven up and then results in a stronger, more motivated buyer. The latter technique, more often than not, results in superior results. There are many factors which are important in your overall offer. The price, of course, is huge, but I also like to point out the likelihood of certain buyers being able to perform and that contract getting to the closing table. One of the things I share with my clients is a little exercise. We bring up their current monthly payment, and we look at each day they stay in their current home, what that costs them. Everyone's situation is different. However, when we look at the price per day of their current mortgage, along with the taxes and the insurance, every day that their home stays on market, they are paying X amount per day. Some are shocked to really look at their daily expenses in this manner. However, when my sellers really take a hard look at spending $60 or even $100 per day to keep in their current home, that helps them realizing that pricing too high and then waiting for the market to catch up to them, that may not be the best strategy. Not only are you wasting money each day, you're also losing that newness of your listing, that excitement where a buyer feels they are getting there before other buyers. Once the home is past 6 weeks old on the market, heck, in today's world, once the home has been on the market for more than 2 weeks, everyone who is shopping for a home similar to yours has already seen your home, and those folks were in no hurry to buy it. So, as a new listing, you were the shark, aggressively looking for that buyer, or ideally buyers. Now that paradigm shifts, and as you, the seller, become the hunted, and the 4 to 6 weeks, you start getting those lowball offers, where the market knows you have showed off your home to the entire current pool of buyers and no serious bites. And now the buyers become the bargain hunters, and your 6 week plus old listing is the perfect prey. Bottom line, you as the seller are in the driver's seat when it comes to pricing your home. But I do ask that you process all the data I bring and that you decide based on the evidence which route you feel is best for your situation. We only get to launch the home to market the right way once. Try as we might, there is not really a way to get it wrong. Then 2 weeks into it or 3 weeks into it, we try to renegotiate, relaunch as a new listing. We only get one first impression, and that impression needs to make an impact. So we pick out of the pricing strategy which of my sellers feels is the best match for their situation and their comfort level. I have seen homes which were overpriced compared to the comps and still sell quickly and painlessly. I have seen homes that I felt were priced right, and for whatever reason, the home hits an objection from buyers. A great example is a beautiful home I listed, yet the top floor of this half duplex was being used as an entertainment area. The buyer who bought the home converted that entertainment area into a master suite bedroom. My seller at the time was not here in the state and just wanted the home sold. They were not interested in taking the gamble on converting the top floor. Then, of course, I have seen homes which were priced below market and get a full price offer, or even an over full price offer within hours of hitting the market. All these strategies I have seen work. I find that by giving my sellers the 3 options, letting them choose based on their own situation and their own motivations is the best strategy for me. All right. Well, I have talked about our neighbors in Sunnyside and all that's going on in real estate in that little pocket of Denver's north side. We have also talked in depth on the importance of pricing strategy and how we only get it right once. We also pointed out that the right price and strategy for one seller may not make sense for the next. I generally present 3 strategies and let my seller decide which route we go. I've seen success in all three. So it comes down to what feels right to you as my seller. That's going to be a wrap for today's session. I sure hope you enjoyed the podcast. You can always simply ask your smart speaker, please play my podcast, The Denver Homes Market Report. If you are thinking of buying or selling your home, give me a call, 720-688-5110. Let's chat about your situation. This is Ricky Schoonover of Mode Real Estate. Have a great week. Please be sure to tune in next week where we'll spend some time going over all things real estate for a closeout for the month of June. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week.